Well, hey there, it's Elka, and welcome to another episode of the Creative and Ambitious Entrepreneur Podcast. Again, I'm flying solo because Jen is still not feeling well, but she is getting better, so thank you so much for all your prayers and wishes of her to recover fully. We are obviously also vested in that because we miss her. We miss having her here. So thank you so much for all the kind words that you've sent our way to help her get better. And yes, she is getting better, but still not good enough to join me. So in today's episode, I want to talk to you about how to avoid the fear of missing out, or people like to call that FOMO, which is fear of missing out, as a Zazzle designer. We get this it's a really good question, and we get this asked so many times because people aren't getting the sales they want, right? On the Zazzle platform. And as you know, if this is your first episode that you're watching or listening to us with, then we are Zazzle designers who have been on the platform since I think 2008, 2007 I started, but I really just started in 2008. And so that's a long time. But we've also been extremely successful, thankfully, because we have done the work to make our business a business rather than it being a hobby. And by also doing that, that means that we've made a decent amount of money. So in combined total so far, Jen and I have made over $1.5 million and counting as take home from the Zazzle marketplace sales that we make, which is because we use mainly about 10% as a royalty. We have sold over $15 million worth of product. And this is one of the things that's so important is how do we get those sales? And it's the $1 million question, right? Or the whatever number of dollars you want to ask in question, because it's always that unknown, the black box. You start on Zazzle, and then how do you get there? And I had the same thing. Like when I first started, it's like, how do these people do it? What is their secret? Why can't they tell us? Why is it so hard? All of these things. And so then we start to create stories around what it is that's required for us to make those sales. And I did this as well. And so maybe you're doing that too while you're listening to this. Maybe you're realizing, oh, yes, I did actually create a couple of stories around why I'm not selling. But the most typical thing that does happen is we feel that we need to have our products visible to the Zazzle customer. And so when we go onto the Zazzle homepage, for example, and we see all these wonderful designs being showcased, the first thing, like, be honest, the first thing that comes to mind for you probably is, well, maybe two things, one of the two. The first thing I would say, for me, at least it was for a long time, well, they're going to get a lot of money, right? Because they're being featured. So those people that go to the Zazzle marketplace, the homepage in the Zazzle marketplace, then there's that product. Man, there's going to be a lot of sales for that person. And at first I was jealous because I wanted to be that one. I wanted to have my product on that homepage. Well, I'm going to demystify some of that in this episode, and so I hope you're really interested in understanding the psychology. Just going to grab a drink. Because hopefully it won't take you as long to get through that process as it did me, because that really hindered my success. And so I want you to understand that it's not just the homepage, there's other things, and we're going to talk about that, or I'm going to talk about that to you in this episode, is I want to help you avoid this feeling of missing out so that you can focus on selling rather than fearing you're going to miss out and not sell. So you want to get started? I'm ready to get started. So let's get going. So first of all, I'm going to say a couple of things, and I'm going to ask you some questions and answer honestly. And depending on where you are in your Zazzle journey, if you're just starting out, or you've been on Zazzle for a while and you haven't made money, or even if you've been on Zazzle for a while and you've made it to like silver or bronze or silver, which bronze means you made 1,000, silver means you've made 25,000 in earnings, and so even some people who are gold or even platinum, which means 100,000 or 250,000, there's still this fear of missing out because of the attitude and the mindset that we have when it comes to how we believe as a general, like the way we're taught even in school and stuff, is we must be missing something. We're not good enough. We're not able to handle this, and we're not able to deliver. And that is so untrue. It's false. And so really important that you hear that. And so I'm going to ask you some questions, and then you can answer them honestly. So the first thing is, have you ever looked at the Zazzle homepage and thought, how can I get my products showcased? And it's not just for the fact that you want to have your product seen. It's the reason is I want to make sales, right? That's the honest truth. Then the second question is, do you think you're missing out on sales opportunities if your products are not featured on the Zazzle homepage or any other landing page for that matter that Zazzle has, because they have all these cool landing pages? And if your answer is yes, it's a very true, real feeling that you get, right? And you have. So be address it, own it, and then we can move forward, and we can help you in this podcast to help you feel better about it and take that energy and move it into something positive that will help you make sales rather than staying stuck in the fear of missing out. All right, the next question is, do you think that your products need to show up on the first page of a popular Zazzle product sort in order to make sales? And I'll explain what that is in a minute when I go into more details. But initially, what you can just hear from that is when someone's searching for a particular thing that they want on the Zazzle marketplace, there's a result that comes up, and it's always the popular result. And so there's a great fear in the community of Zazzle designers that say that that's not fair. How can you ever get an edge in, like any sort of foothold into that first popular sort, because it's always dominated by the best sellers? So that's a real fear, right? Because then you're missing out. And so again, if you answered yes to that, that's good. That's good, because that means we're in the right spot to talk about this. All right. And so let's take those questions and answers, because now we've got the mood set, and maybe you're actually like a little bit anxious now because it's like, yeah, these are really the things that bother me all the time. So let's talk about them and let's work through them, okay? All right, because we get this questions asked all the time, and they want immediate answers. Every single one of the people that we've had ask us this is like, well, tell me what's going on. Do I need this? Oh, how can I get there? Because there's all these assumptions, right? So do I need it? How do I get there? What would happen if it didn't work for me? And all of this has to do, of course, with the fear of missing out on sales. And why is because we all want to be successful on Zazzle. So here's the big message overall. Anyone can be successful on Zazzle, and there's more than enough abundance for anyone to be successful on Zazzle if they do what's necessary to create the sales on Zazzle. Okay? So that's the big if. And what does that mean? And so we'll go into that a little bit in detail later, but the most important part is first we have to get off of this is not fair, I'm missing out, I won't ever be able to make sales story. And I was in that mindset for a long time. In the first year I made $90 because everybody else on Zazzle was the big thing. It's like, oh, how do I make sales? How do I do it? And I was so fearful that I couldn't make sales that I truly manifested the fearfulness, and I didn't make sales because I was so focused on the things that weren't important. I made so many products. I threw spaghetti against the wall like crazy. And if anyone's been with us on any of the podcasts or any of our YouTube channel episodes, you'll hear that we tell people you cannot just use the throw spaghetti against the wall trick, where what you use to test whether pasta is good. That's for pasta. That's not for making sales on Zazzle. You have to have a strategic plan, one that works, that's proven, and you have to follow it, and you have to execute it properly in order for that to happen. And that's something that we forget, right? Because we're just seeing others being successful, and we right away move to, well, how is that possible? How did they do it? Why can't I do it? And I'm missing out because everyone else is doing it and my products are not selling, and it must be because they're not being featured, right? We grab to the quickest answer. And at the end of the podcast, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about what the answer is. But first, I want to help you walk through this because it's a very nice thing to hold on to, and it's the mindset crusher of success. It really, truly is. Okay, so I'm going to just talk about it a little bit more. I'm going to look at my notes here, make sure I don't miss out on anything because this is really important. The key points that I'm going to talk about are the ones that you have always maybe had in your mind because you've done this with other things, not just the Zazzle platform, but just in general, right? If we see someone else that's driving by in a really nice car, we go like, how do they do that? I want that. How come I don't have that? Those things happen in like seconds. All those thoughts come right there, right? And so now if we're vested and we actually do want to own that car, like we do, we want to be on the Zazzle platform and we want to be successful, then how is it that we switch from the want, jealousy, fear of missing out to a place where we feel confident that we can actually achieve our goal? And so we're going to demystify some things first to help you come down off of that, oh, this must be the way it has to happen. And then we move into how does it truly happen, okay? So I'm going to just ask you, what do you think is the outcome for having your product on the homepage featured? So let's say you make a product and it's now all of a sudden on the homepage and you're so excited. And we do this a lot with our students. We, on Instagram and like Facebook and emails, we showcase people who have had their products showcased on the homepage. And this could also go for emails or anything else, but like literally Zazzle has picked that product, also with editors picks, right? They've picked that product and they've recognized it and they've used it somehow in their marketing. And everyone's going, wow, this is so exciting. And it is. It is. But is it tied directly to your ability to make sales? No. Is it a guarantee that your product being featured on the Zazzle homepage actually will make you a ton of money on the day that it was featured or the week that it was featured or the entire summer or entire season it was featured? Like Jennifer had her lemon wedding invitation featured for almost a year. And the question is this going to generate money for you because it's going to generate sales? Is that a possibility? The answer is yes and no. Some things that we have had featured, both Jennifer and I, on the Zazzle homepage have been really good in terms of sales. Others, not a single cent. So there's the first demystification. It's not always a guarantee. So we are basing our fear of missing out on something that we assume is happening, but it's not always happening. We're very grateful for Zazzle when we do get featured on the homepage or in an email or like a marketing email, like buying, whatever it says, buy binders or buy mugs or whatever. But it doesn't always guarantee an uptake in sales. So please remember that. It's wonderful exposure. It's great. We can use that. You can use that if your product is featured. First of all, recognize it, acknowledge it, thank Zazzle for your opportunity. Hopefully you'll make some sales, but you can't be guaranteed of them. But what you can do is you can say, I've been featured. This product's been featured. Blitz the heck out of that and tell everybody that you know and put it on social media and emails and your website. Take advantage of the fact that your product has been featured and that you as a designer have had some limelight exposure, right? That's really cool. But anyone who's been featured, and if you're not, like if you've been featured, fantastic. If you haven't been featured, that's not the end of the world. In fact, I've been featured a lot less than most of my students, and I still make more money. Okay, so please be cognizant of that because it's really not the reason you're not making sales. How's that? Okay, what about what's the outcome of your product being featured on a landing page for a certain use or niche. And remember that one also, like I just mentioned the lemon one for Jen. Yeah, on the wedding niched landing page that Zazzle had, several of her lemon products were always featured for almost a year. And yes, she made sales of certain ones, but others that were featured right next to each other were not as lucrative in terms of sales. So there's like extra market research for you just to show you. And obviously our feedback from our students now that they've been featured in various places, homepage or in one of these landing pages, or even one of the little pieces above, when you're looking through Zazzle and you see the sections above for the departments, and then there's one product that's featured compared to another. So just basically anywhere that Zazzle features a product, you could have an opportunity to have more visibility, right? And anywhere where that's happened, and then we've gotten the feedback from our students, even if they've been featured, it's about 50-50 as to whether or not they make sales. And it's even more like 50-50 for anyone who did make sales, whether or not they made a lot of sales or a few sales. Okay? So again, we're trying to avoid the fear of missing out, and the first thing that we have to do is actually get the perspective that we need so that you can actually understand how important this is. When we've all made it such an important thing, but maybe it's actually not as important as we think. So, and what's the outcome of your product having the search result come up so that your product is in the first page of a popular product sort? And see, this is different than being featured because Zazzle's picked those other ones. Whereas here, the reason that your product is showing up in that popular sort is because of some algorithms that are a combination of sales and views and your Z rank. And so everyone's always asking, like, how do you get to the popular product sort on the first page? And the reason is because they think that that's the only way that a customer might buy. They won't scroll to page 2 or something like that, or they won't sort more clearly and more deeply before they get to what they want. And partially that's correct, but partially that's not correct. Because as much as I sell certain popular products, you may have actually seen some of them on the Zazzle Marketplace, even in the bestsellers for all time, for a month, for the year, for the day, for the month. I forget how it goes. Day, week, month, year, all time. So some of my products are in all of those searches for the bestsellers. Then when you go into the niches where I dominate with some of my products, you can see that my products are somewhere on the top first page. But that doesn't mean that I'm selling those as much in terms of dollars as much as maybe you think I do. Obviously, they're still selling, but it's all perception. It's all how you decide to interpret the data. And so what we're trying to do here with this particular podcast is just help you understand that it's not always what it seems. The best phrase that I love this the most is, you don't know what you don't know. And don't make assumptions on what you don't know, because that creates fear. And this is what we're dealing with here, is we're fearing that we're missing out, and maybe we're not, right? And I'm trying to demystify some of this by giving you some examples. It also maybe helps in some cases make some sales, but I make sales on other products that can sell well on their own and become bestsellers without any visibility on the homepage, without any visibility on any of the sections, never in an email, never in one of the sections up above in terms of a department, never on the popular first page of the product sort, and still be making sales to the point where it becomes a bestseller. Okay? So hopefully that it makes you understand it. It also will say to you, like, now you should be asking, like, well, then what the heck does? What the heck does make a bestseller? How does this work? Because we thought this was how you got it. This was the holy grail. And it's not. It's an additional wonderful bonus, but it's not the holy grail. It's not how you make sales. And so hopefully you're not like steaming right now, but it's true. And this is one of the most important things that you have to understand. The featured stuff and the popular sort, for the most part, is chance. And it's a relative thing because, especially even with the popular sort, I might be making a good amount of money with my product, but maybe someone else is making a good amount of money with their product that's more and more frequent than mine, so mine never turns up on the first page of the popular sort, but I'm still making a lot of money. Someone else might be making more money, but that's okay, because I'm making a lot of money and I'm happy. And then that's the whole idea behind the mentality that I suggest you adopt as well, because there's an abundance for everyone to be successful on Zazzle. And you don't have to be number one. You don't have to be on the homepage. You don't have to. You just have to do a couple of things, and that's what we're going to get to next. What truly does it take to get the sales results? Okay, everybody ready? Are you ready? I'm just taking another drink. Hold on a second. I need a drink today. I'm usually recording these when I'm less busy, but today I've been on live and it's now 6:30 in the evening for my time, and I've been on live since 9 o'clock this morning. And what I've been doing is Creative CEO Mastermind class. And today we talked all about manifestation, which is really cool. And it actually fits in right here and with this. And so, yeah, my voice is a little bit croaky, but I need to record this before so that my podcast team can work up the podcast and get it out to you. But the key here is that this is one of the most difficult things to understand, and even in our Creative CEO Mastermind, we talk about this sort of thing. We talk about the mindset of what's real and what really gets us the results. And that's why after being in one of the Creative CEO Masterminds, you'll understand more clearly what it is that you have to do to deliver to get that result that you're hoping for or wanting, that you've been working on. And it's, even when we're talking about manifestation, by having these thoughts about missing out, we're actually manifesting us not to have sales because we're fearful. When we bring the fear out of the equation and we're just really happy and playful with how we present our products to the marketplace and the way we sort of send our workers out into the workplace, which I always consider my products workers. I don't know if you ever considered that, but my products are my workers. They're my employees. I've made them, I've trained them, I've created the products, and then I put them there in the marketplace and they're supposed to work for me. They're supposed to make sales. But if I didn't do the training properly, if I didn't give them the right tools and set them into the right spot in the marketplace and go forth into attracting the right niche, then those employees are not going to make sales. They don't have all the tools. They don't have the ability to do what I consider they should be doing. And so it's up to me as the boss of my Zazzle store to create those employees, i.e. products, and give them the best chance to make those sales that I'm anticipating from those particular employees or products. And so that comes down to the actual pieces that you need to truly make sales, irrespective of whether or not you get a product featured on the homepage, and even irrespective of if it never shows up in the popular sort on the first page, which is the holy grail. Everyone thinks that's the only way to make sales. It's not. It's not at all. Okay, so the first thing you have to do to create that working employee that's going to give you a lot of profitability back, because they're going to go out and make a lot of sales, is create a desirable design. So first of all, the employee, the product, has to have a design on it that truly is desirable, not by you. And I pointed to me because it's like, I'm the designer. If I love it, great. If no one else loves it, too bad. That's really important. I won't make sales. I have to make it desirable for the customer. Then I can make sales. And then on top of that, I have to have met a need that they currently have that is going to make them open their wallets and also feel that they are going to receive the value that they're paying for. It's a very different way to look at a sale compared to how you would look at a sale if you're just like, oh, yeah, I'm going to put some products up. I love my paintings. I'm going to put them up on binders or something like that. And I know they're going to sell because I've sold these paintings, or everyone in my circle of friends and followers on Instagram love these. I'll put them on a binder and they'll be like selling like hotcakes, right? That's usually how it goes. But there's way more involved than that. We need to have this merging of availability of a particular type of product that meets a certain need, that has to be designed really, really well, that has to be found by the customer, and then that customer has to, at that point in time, when they're ready to buy, be ready for it and want it and be willing to pay the money for it. And if that's the case, then eureka, that's a sale, right? Before that, it's all hope. The customer is hoping they'll find something that looks exactly like what they're thinking they want to get and meet the need that they have, that they're willing to pay this much money for. You are like, I want to make money on Zazzle. I want to retire early and travel the world and so on. And I go like, and the only way to make that happen is sell products. So we go like, I'm going to make so many products, going to slap them out there, and I haven't even sort of stumbled over the slap them out there, but that's what we do initially, right? As Zazzle designers, even if we do really well in terms of creating the designs, we don't actually pay attention to how we put the designs on the product, and we just figure the merit of the design will help sell the product in itself. There's nothing else that's needed. It's just, I took a great photograph, people will love that, they'll buy it on anything, right? But that's not what this customer's doing. This customer's coming in and going like, well, I need this specific thing for this specific purpose, and I'm willing to pay this much for it, or at least need to feel like there's enough value there for me to pay whatever the price is. That's when they put their credit card down. And so how do we get these two people coming in together to create that uniform, or that union in the time-space continuum that says, I want to buy this, and you go like, thank you very much for my royalty, and that I get paid by Zazzle. That's all. That's the unique colliding. That's how we make sales, and it's also how the universe continues to build more money for you. In this case, right? That's the Zazzle platform. Whether it's on Zazzle or another platform, you can think the same thing if you're selling on Amazon or whatever. But the key here is that interaction has to happen, and maybe I've like made it a little bit more obvious than normally one would think, but that's truly what has to happen. And we forget as designers that it's not just because our products aren't being featured on the homepage that we're not selling. We're not selling for so many reasons. It's because, but the main thing is just whatever it took to deliver and tell this customer, here's this thing that you want to buy, and they go, thank you so much, it's exactly what I'm looking for. If we didn't do that for that customer, it's our fault. It's our doing. We are 100% responsible. It doesn't matter how much promotion we got, we need to deliver. And so then that's going back to each product is an employee. So when we made that product, we didn't give that employee the correct, things that they needed in order to convince the customer to buy them. And so we're upset that the employee isn't selling for us, but it was actually us that delivered the product out into the Zazzle marketplace without giving it what it needed to actually close the deal. And so that's really, really important. So let's recap. So we need to make desirable designs that meet the needs of a specific niche customer that's ready to buy. Because what we also forget is that we've made a product, the customer could come and see it, and they may go like, this is awesome, but then they actually don't buy it. They'll buy 6 months from now, or even next week, or something like that. And in the meantime, going like, oh man, again, no sales. But what we need to do is always keep that positive vibe going that says, this is worthy of being sold many, many times. And if you've done your job, then it actually is the truth. And it's just a matter of finding those customers. Which brings us to the next point, because there's really only two ways to get sales. The first is to create a desirable design that meets the need for a specific niche customer that is ready to buy. And the second part is to help your ideal customer find your product. Okay? And so that's where the promotion comes in. But you don't have to have 40,000 people on your Instagram account in order for you to get a sale. It starts with creating really great titles, a really great title and great tags for your product. And then when you post your product, you're sending it out into the marketplace already equipped with the searchability, the SEO, the search engine optimization, for that product to be found not only in the Zazzle marketplace, but also on Google, because Zazzle feeds to Google. And then if you do one extra easy step and pin to Pinterest, then you have another definitely big platform, that you can have people searching for your product on, which is Pinterest. So within a very short, with very minimal effort, that creates more of a passive way of promoting rather than an active way of promoting. You can do the titles and tags properly when you're posting your product, and that will already give you the opportunity to have your product searched in two different, I guess I want to just say platforms. I'll say platforms, Google and Zazzle Marketplace. And then if you pin to Pinterest, that's a third platform. So 3 platforms, 1 product. It's all out in the universe. The employee is looking for clients. And then when the client finds them, as long as the links aren't broken and you're going back to the product and everything's good and the product turns out to be really nice and the customer wants to buy it, that creates a sale. And hopefully for you, that will all be happening passively, because that's the whole principle behind the Zazzle platform, is all this happens online while you're sleeping, because you've done your job once. And then every other customer who has a similar need can have the similar interaction and experience, and therefore they too will have the opportunity to buy. And what you'll see is another email in your inbox saying you've made another sale. And so far, nothing has to do with the Zazzle homepage, nothing has to do with a popular sort, and nothing has to do with having your product land on a landing page. That's bonus, and it may or may not help you. But these 2 things are the most effective things that are going to get you a sale. All right, and I'm just going to leave that for a minute, because I think people forget that it's not hard. It's very, very simple, as long as you don't make it complicated. Selling and creating the product on Zazzle that people would like to buy, because it meets it's a really, really great design, and it doesn't have to be a design specific for a particular occasion. This can be for art, for photography, for graphic designs, for surface patterns, for typography designs. Any combination, permutation of that, like if you have photography and text, if you want to have artwork and text, if you want to have take a piece of artwork and pattern it, or a graphic element and pattern it, you name it, whichever combination, permutation, as long as it creates a desirable design, then you've got a customer that it's going to target in a specific niche, and they're at that point interested in buying, so the transaction happens naturally. And I'm just thinking that what you need to understand is that you don't have to always meet the niche that's currently popular, because that's another thing that people forget, is that if you see a trend on Zazzle, for example, if it's like a certain color or a certain type of graphic design that's currently trending, that doesn't mean you have to get on that trend. You can create your own trend. Some really great examples are Grumpy Cat. And then there's another lady who has the oh my gosh, I've forgotten her name now, but she's got she's got a lot of books out, and she has a really amazing blog. The Bloggess, thank you. My brain just said that. I said thank you to my brain here. The Bloggess. She's another wonderful example of how she has created a drive, the traffic that's driven to the Zazzle store that she has because of her blog and all the wonderful ways that she talks about her experiences with depression. And how is that related to Zazzle, right? You think you have to go on Zazzle and make wedding invitations. That's not true. There's so many ways that you can make money on Zazzle without it being specifically what you see and perceive is the only thing selling on Zazzle. And so that's the way I want to leave you today, because I really want you to understand that what you see and perceive is not always what you think it is. You don't know what you don't know. But I did tell you, even though I said in this podcast and YouTube video, if you're watching on YouTube, that there's certain things that we may consider as Zazzle designers that are the given ways that we can make money on Zazzle, but they're only bonus material. That's being featured on the homepage with a product, or having a product featured anywhere else in an email, an editor's pick, a landing page that's in a subsection like for weddings or for grad or for Christmas or holiday cards, or one of these like sections that you see above the popular sort in terms of the departments, and they have like a picture there of some product. That helps, but it's not a guarantee that you're going to sell anything there. And we're always like focused on that. How do we get there? How do we get there? Why is my product not there? Those are all negative vibe anyway, and so it's really not going to help you move further. Then the other one that's really important that everyone thinks is the crusher of your success is if your product isn't featured in that first 60 products that come up on the first page of the popular sort. And that's not true. There's so many products that get sold, take it from me and from all our students, that are not on the homepage, and yet they still sell. Or sorry, not on the first page of the popular sort, but they still sell. And so I would like to make sure that you're very clear on that those are not your only reason you're not making money, or the reason why. Like, you shouldn't have that fear that you're missing out. You should be happy for the people who got featured. And you go like, maybe I'll be featured one day, but hey, that's not going to hold me back from my success. Instead, do the two things that are the most important for making sure that you do get the sales that you want to get on Zazzle. And that is, oh my gosh, those two things are creating desirable designs. I'm going to read it out to make sure I make all the points there. Creating desirable designs that meet the needs for a specific niche customer that's ready to buy. And then the second point is help your ideal customer, the one that's ready to buy, find your product. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube and listening to us here on the podcast. And we will see you in the next episode. Bye.